In today's video, I'm going to be talking about Dr. Ratio, a character that I'm sure many of you guys can't wait to try out. Before I start today's video, I just want to say that 1.6 has been such a good update so far, and the fact that Hoverse decided to give us a free 5-star character is just absolutely insane. We all have to agree that Dr. Ratio single-handedly destroyed all of Genshin's past update or anniversary rewards, but in all seriousness, hopefully Genshin will do something similar in the future, but who knows. By the way, back to the video, for those who don't know that much about Dr. Ratio, he is a Hunt Path imaginary character who specializes in follow-up attacks, and to better understand how great I think he is going to be, I'll start by talking about his kit. So as usual, I'm going to skip over his basic attack as there's nothing special about it, but for his skill, this is where the follow-up element of his kit comes in. In fact, every single time Dr. Ratio uses his skill, there is a base 40% chance to launch a follow-up attack, which is his talent, and in addition, for every debuff that the enemy has, the chance of that follow-up attack happening increases by 20%. Honestly, I have to say that when we were able to try him out in the Trail-based continuance of 1.6, his skill felt really fun to play with, especially when you never know whether you're going to land that follow-up attack or not, when there are no debuffs on the enemy that you're trying to hit. But before talking about the teams that you would ideally want to play Dr. Ratio in, let's quickly go over what his ultimate and technique do. For his ultimate, it deals a massive instance of single target damage, and it also applies the Wise Man's Folly effect onto the hit enemy. You gain 2 stacks of this effect immediately after using the ultimate, and whenever you attack the enemy that was hit with the ultimate, Dr. Ratio's follow-up attack will happen, and 1 stack of Wise Man's Folly will be consumed. Lastly, his technique summons this alabaster statue of himself, which taunts all nearby enemies, and the enemy's speed will also be reduced by 15% when entering battle, and this effect will last for 2 turns. Overall, I have to really say that his kit seems very interesting to play with. I really like Hoverse's idea of bringing more follow-up attack orientated characters into the game. Currently, I think we only have Topaz and Himiko as the only 5-star follow-up attack characters in the game, and in terms of the 4-star characters, besides Turta, I don't think there are any other. My guess is that Topaz and Dr. Ratio will have very good synergy between the 2 characters. Both of them essentially put a mark on enemies, and whenever the marked enemy is hit, their respective follow-up attack will be triggered. So when building a team revolving those 2 characters that I just mentioned, the other 2 slots will be most likely filled by a buffer/debuffer, and finally a healer/sustainer. The healer/sustainer of the team can be Luocha or Fushuan if we're talking about pulling up the best of the best, but since we all get a free copy of Lynx by simply participating in the new Pure Fiction game mode, Lynx should also do the job perfectly as well. Now for the buffer/debuffer slot, for example, Koko can be put into this slot, freeing up the healer slot and allowing you to bring on another buffer/debuffer. Rame is of course going to be the top choice for a buffer if you have her, as she gives your team a weakness break efficiency buff with her skill, and also an all-type resistance penetration buff with her ultimate, and so that's that. Silver Wolf Tingyun as the basically all buffers in the game will work well with Dr. Ratio. What I'm trying to say is that as long as you have the core of the team decided, you can basically choose whichever character you would want to put on the team, and it'll just work great. Personally, I feel like a character's team flexibility is something that really influences how enjoyable a character will feel in terms of the entire experience of owning that said character on your account, and so that is definitely one thing that I look for in new characters whenever they're about to come out. Now that I've talked quite a bit about his potential team comps, let's talk about Dr. Ratio's relics and the stats. For the 4-piece relic set, your options are either the Wastelander set or the Ash Blazing set. Because I'm not a Fury crafter, I have no idea what sort of difference you should expect from these sets, but I would assume that the Ash Blazing set will outperform the Wastelander set by a tiny bit, and as for the Link Rope and Planar Spear set, I'd say the Inertial Sato set is realistically your only option, as it is the only Planar Ornament set that focuses on buffing follow-up attacks. In terms of the main stats of all the individual relic pieces, crit rate or crit damage for the body piece depending on which one you need more of, speed or attack for the boots once again depending on which one you need more of, imaginary damage boost for the Planar Sphere, and attack percent for the Link Rope. You can argue that maybe running energy regen on the Link Rope would be another option that you can go for, and fair enough, you might want to use his ultimate as frequently as possible so that he can launch as many follow-up attacks, and so I guess you can say that that is an option. We just simply don't know how that would play out yet at the moment, so I would still say stick to attack percent for the Link Rope if you want to play it safe. And of course for the substats, you will want to look for speed, attack percent, crit rate, and crit damage just like your every other DPS character that is in the game already. As for the light cones that I recommend you guys to put on your Dr. Ratio, of course the signature light cone is going to be his best in slot. It gives 20% crit damage straight away, and for every debuff that the hit enemy has, the crit damage of that attack is increased by 8% up to a maximum of 24%. But that is still not it, as when you use Dr. Ratio's ultimate, you gain this effect which increases your damage dealt by 36%, and follow-up attacks will ignore 24% of the hit enemy's defense, and this will last for 2 turns. Not going to lie, this Lycon seems very busted, and along with that, the art seems very interesting as well. Alternatively, you can also use Topaz's signature Lycon if you have it, or you can even use the simulated universe Lycon, which will also work very well on him, especially if you have superimposed it a few times. In terms of the 4-star options, I think the Battle Pass Lycon Return to Darkness is probably going to be the best, but if you don't have it and don't want to buy the Battle Pass, then basically all the other existing 4-star icons are fine on him. And although it is confirmed that we are all going to get a free copy of Dr. Ratio, I still think it is worth covering what his idolings are like, as I'm sure there will be people out there who want to get a few of them. First of all, E1 enhances this passive trace on the screen right now, and it allows Dr. Ratio to get a maximum of 25% crit rate and 50% crit damage for every single debuff the enemy has at the time of using Dr. Ratio's skill, and this buff applies to his follow-up attack. This E1 is surprisingly good on paper, as 50% crit damage is a lot if you really think about it, and so if you really want to pull for E1, by all means go for it. E2 further buffs his follow-up attack, and this time it is an imaginary damage buff that can stack up to 100% of his attack when in full effect. I'm assuming you guys already know what E3 and E5 do, so I'm not going to go through them. As for E4, it gives 15 extra energy whenever his follow-up attack is triggered, which is a nice bonus I guess. And finally, his E6 increases the maximum amount of Wiseman's Folly to 3, and it also simply buffs his follow-up attack damage by a flat 50%, which is just insane in my opinion. In all fairness, I think his islands are some of the greatest out of all the limited 5-star characters that we have had so far. If you really like Dr. Ratio, I would suggest really going for them, to be honest, and the stopping point would probably be either at E1 or E2. To end off today's video, I just really want to say that I'm expecting quite a lot from Dr. Ratio. His kit makes him seem like a really promising character, and I simply can't wait to try him out for myself. Once again, I'm so glad that Hoverse is doing this, giving all of us a free copy of Dr. Ratio, and let me know what you guys think about Dr. Ratio in the comments. That's going to be it for today's video. If you enjoyed today's video, please leave a like and also subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!